in order to see the angels, we have to be the angels. God does not forgive, for he has never condemned. My source is not holding this on me, so why am I?
We forget that we are one. We forget that we are spirit. Law of attraction manifestation is about plugging into spirit, plugging into source, becoming one with everything.
When your culture says you're comfortable and your body says, no, I'm not, you are split in two. And it's the splitting that causes the pain.
Because angels, they make us feel like we've got a family that really understands us.
It is the most common number that my wife Jessica and I see almost around every bend. What in the world is up with 1111?
It's not a new message. It's an ancient message. We have heard it thousands of times from different spiritual teachers and masters all around the world. But when you are starting to see 1111 or 111 showing up all around you, it's the ultimate message that you are one. You are one with the everything that is and ever will be. And not only is it a message, it's also a call to action. You know, first of all, it's this ultimate sign and reminder to you that you are part of something greater. You are not insignificant, but significant. And it's also a call to action because you're ultimately interconnected through this bond of energy that unites us, the universe. You also have an opportunity to contribute to that oneness. So it's a call to action to almost be the angel. And I've always believed that in order to see the angels, we have to be the angels. So it's this, it's this call for light, and it's this invitation to remember that you are one with all.
I want to dive into the number 17 here. I really want to talk about where all these numbers came from. But this morning, when I flipped on the computer to speak with you, two numbers came up. 1717 was the first number that I saw, and then 21881, which is 18881, which is 18881. I'm like, wow, the number's backwards. Let's just start with 17 right now, because I got that repeating, and now you're saying at 17, everything changed.
So I'll tell you just insight. So I don't remember the whole book of numbers offhand,
don't
right?
Have to.
But there is a key codex to angel numbers. It's like a scale of music. Like every single from 0 to 9, each one has a vibration or a number corresponding to it. So 1 is the number of oneness, the universe, connection. Like if you just think of like a direct connection straight up and down, that's 1. And 7 is the number of manifestation or magic or intention. So if you're seeing 17, it's about unite your thoughts with your purest intention and you'll receive it. Like it's just gentle like that. And that's how you work out the numbers. You just take the keywords or the key vibrations behind each number, and then you can get to a message. So 17 is generally a number about becoming one with your thoughts or aligning your thoughts in a specific way in order to have a specific experience.
Thank you. So when did you start recognizing numbers, or when did they start, the best way to describe it in my life, chasing you down?
Right. It was kind of like an experiment. Initially, I remember when I first got my first ever mobile phone, like a cell phone. It was a Nokia. You remember the old ones? They had Snake on it. And it was back then when I got that, I was in my teenage years, and I kept noticing like 15, we do 24-hour clock in the UK. So I was like 15:55, 11:11. I was seeing these numbers I was like, Mom, I keep looking at the time and all the numbers are the same. And she's like, you're crazy, like just having fun. And then I remember being a total millennial, Googling. I'm like, what does 1111 mean? And I saw so many interpretations and ideas about it, and it didn't sit right. I was like, I know this means something, but I need to know for myself. And I always meditate when Google doesn't have the answer, And so I was just like, angels, thank you for revealing to me the true meaning of 1111. And it was in a meditation I just instantly was transported to seeing like Martin Luther King, Bob Marley. I saw the people praying at Mecca, Indian temples, like all different people from different races and backgrounds. And then I just heard "We are all one." And that's when I started going, oh, 1111 saying we are 1111. And that's really where it all came from. And then I hadn't really thought about delving too deep into all the numbers. And then my office just started getting emails left, right, and center. I know you believe 1111 means this, but what about this number and this number and this number? And it was 2 Christmases ago, I was sitting on the couch just watching TV, and Reed Tracy texted me, the president of Hay House. He just sent me a text out of the blue, didn't even have his phone number. And he's like, hey, I noticed you keep getting asked about this angel number thing. Do you fancy writing a book about it from your perspective? And that night I had a dream about the scale. So then the scale was revealed to me, the 0, 1 to 9, with each vibrational coordination. So I wrote that down. And then over the course of 2 weeks, the book spewed out of me.
I understand this one, Kyle.
Right.
Something fascinating about this is I call universe, law of attraction, whatever we want to call it, a 2-step dance. Step number 1 is awareness. Step number 2 is action. So Amen. All of these numbers to you had that second step. What do you mean? It's a call to action.
So here's the thing. I believe in the law of attraction. I believe that we also have this amazing thing called free will. And I think the universe is very much in honor of us having our own experience. And when these numbers start showing up, it's an invitation, but not a order. And it's just, the universe saying, I'd love you to be part of my bigger picture. I'd love you to work deeper with me. I'd love to take you further. But I also want to honor your experience. I'm just going to be here in a non-intrusive way. And so I've started to come to this understanding that there's 3 things, we can do when we start seeing numbers. So that 3 things we should know. So the first one is, when you're seeing a number, it doesn't matter what the number is, there is one message. You are not alone. That's it. It's just really simple. You are not alone. The second thing, when you're seeing numbers in repeat, it's the universe telling you that you're already on the right path. So when numbers show up, you're doing something right, because as you know, the law of attraction works when we're in alignment. So there's an alignment of thoughts happening at this time. And then the third is call in help. So it's like, you're not alone. You're on the right path. So because you're not alone, you need to remember you're not alone. So action it. So say, angels, thank you for supporting me as I make the next step. Or angels, thank you for bringing to my awareness what I can do in order to move forward. Just a simple invitation to welcome help. And then the numbers we start dancing with you.
How can angel numbers and being in more recognition, or almost in a dance with angel numbers, help us raise our vibration?
Just by us recognizing that we're part of something greater. And just by us being reminded that we're not alone, already our vibration starts to lift up, because we are then reminded that we're not insignificant. And I think all of us have felt so insignificant in the world, particularly with some of the things that are happening around us and on the news and certain politics and all these different things. We can often feel insignificant. And I think it's a little message to us that the slight adjustment of our thoughts, our actions, and our non-actions can make the world of a difference. And so as soon as we start to realize that a slight change of our thoughts can make a difference, then our vibration's high. It's like, if you've ever used like angel cards or something similar to oracle cards, and you just keep picking the same card all the time, it's like the angels screaming, they're like, are you listening to me?
Hello.
I think the angels are not these enlightened beings. but they're our spiritual siblings. They're kind of like our big brothers and sisters, and they're like the caring, loving, supportive sibling that wants to guide us. So sometimes if you think about your big brother, your big sister, or a sibling, sometimes they have to raise their voice. Sometimes they kind of lay down the law a little bit, sometimes they have a little bit of force in them, but they always mean love. And that's essentially what the angels are doing when I say they're shouting. It's like, they're like, yo, dude, you don't recognize how powerful you are right now.
12-12, healing and light.
12-12 is interesting because that's about, so one's are about being one, and two's about how you influence other people. It's about unions, partnerships. And so if you're seeing 12-12, it's about recognizing that what you're doing and how you're being is ultimately affecting those around you. So it's inviting you to step forward and act from a more loving space, seeing the other person's point of view, being more mindful, more compassionate, more supportive.
How important is it when we get these numbers to take your 3 steps from before, to take action in that moment rather than going, yeah, that's cool, and going about our lives?
I was one of these people who was like so busy taking a photo of it that I was missing the magic in the moment. Like we live in this photo culture. I take photos of the food before I eat it. I don't even know if it's good yet. So, I realized that in those moments, that veil between the worlds and the universe it's not there. We're literally one. We're like united in thought. And so I think these moments are downloads. So I always just say, thank you, angels, for revealing to me what I need to know. I am willing to listen. And even if I'm not hearing anything, I'm trusting that I am receiving, through the spiritual broadband, a download of information that will unveil in the perfect space.
People today, we're having our open-hearted warrior boot camps. We do all these different things, and people are coming in feeling less worthy than ever, or feeling like they are not allowed to forgive themselves. What's the importance of loving ourselves, maybe now more than ever?
I think in order for us to get beyond the institutions that are running the world, which is constantly putting us into class and order, we have to recognize that we are buying into their propaganda by not feeling good enough. And so I often usually catch parents out, and parents especially, I'll be like, they're like, I don't feel worthy. And I always say, so do you have a child? And they'll usually say yes. And I'll be like, so would you like your child to feel the way you're feeling? They're like, no. And then I always say, so why are you showing them how to do it? And they're always like, boom, so I think we owe it to the rest of humanity by showing our self-respect and, recognizing that there's something worth loving in us. We're also paving the way for the future. And if we recognize that loving ourselves is actually service, then it makes it more easy.
What do we do if we don't believe we're worthy of forgiveness?
Forgiveness is a huge conversation in itself. It's something I've spent a lot of time looking into. If you don't feel worthy of forgiveness, it doesn't matter, because forgiveness is not something that can be forced. It's an organic process. And even if you don't feel willing, even if you don't feel worthy, you can still be willing to be forgiven. I might not feel worthy of forgiveness, but I'm willing to be forgiven. Ooh. And I think willingness can lead us to a deeper sense of worthiness.
Woohoo!
I love the Nesses. The willingness and worthiness are like two of my things I go to like almost every day.
How would you do that? How would you weave that in a daily basis? What would be a situation that you weave that in?
I think all of us, I get annoyed at myself in some of, I can be really hot-headed, and as much as I can be seen quite laid back at times, I am a firecracker, especially in specific circumstances like traveling. And, sometimes I get annoyed at myself how I act or whatever. And then I realize that me holding that on myself I understand why I'm doing that, because I'm saying, okay, I don't want to act like this. I want to change my frequency. I want to be in a more serving way. So I acknowledge that. But I also recognize that me holding a grudge on me isn't actually serving the world, And so I recognize that this is a weight that I don't need to carry. And this is a weight that's going to contribute to more angst in the world rather than support. So I'm willing to change how I feel about it. And I love this quote from A Course in Miracles that I always go to. It says, "God does not forgive, for he has never condemned." And I just freaking love that. I'm like, my source is not holding this on me, so why am I?
First off, I just had a near-death experience and had the most profound downloads and understanding of the universe that I couldn't even begin to unpack, we'll say, the new understandings that I had for many years to come. But secondly, I got an answer to my prayers. Nothing is more profound than being able to ask in prayer and receive. That's what we're talking about tonight. How angels and manifestation go hand in hand, hopefully without the 2x4 that I experienced. But I had just prayed for safety and guidance. Here I am, completely broken on the trail, shattered, ended up with a titanium femur in my left leg, titanium hip, wires to hold it together. Later on, a second near-death experience that left me perfectly symmetrical, a story for another day. But I prayed for safety and guidance, and though it didn't come in the form I desired, I got an answer. More importantly, I got a sense of understanding that we're not alone, that we're all connected, we are all one. A lot of times when we do manifestation work, we forget that. We forget that we are one. We forget that we are spirit. We think it's just a magic trick. Law of attraction, it's just a magic trick. Put your hand on the steering wheel and pretend to drive the car and the car will appear. That's not how it works. Law of attraction manifestation is about plugging into spirit, plugging into source, becoming one with everything. In fact, if you try to do it the other way, of just using it as a magic trick, you ended up creating distance between you and the very thing you're trying to create. You create a gap between you. And out of a gap, ain't nothing happening. That's why when people say, I'm doing my law of attraction work, I'm trying so hard to attract. First off, if you're trying to attract, you're putting yourself in a state of lack. It's not going to happen. But when I am trying to attract, you're in an energy of not having it and of not being it. You are the very thing you desire. You have a holographic image of the world inside, outside, and all around you, which means you are the very thing you desire. Which means if you put the thing you desire you have out there outside of yourself, you can no longer have it. What we're really talking about is paradigms here and shifting paradigms. See, there's this industrial age paradigm. Actually, it goes way back before then. It says you have to work hard, you have to drive, you have to strive, you have to be like the mythical Sisyphus, pushing a stone uphill that if you ever back off even for a slight second, it will come rolling back down on top of you and crush you. Here's the challenge with this old paradigm. The old paradigm of working, driving, striving, and slaying, which comes out of the industrial age. Think about that for a minute. I must work hard. Actually, we're going to play here today. I want you to breathe deep, in through the nose, down to the belly, back up through the nose. And now I want you to say, I must work hard. Breathe in and feel into your body. How does that feel? I must work hard. Well, for me, my shoulders tighten up. I feel a heavy burden. Maybe your back tightens up as well from having to carry the weight on your own. I have to work hard. Now I'd like you to say, everything comes to me with grace and ease. Feels much lighter, doesn't it? One is an experience of pushing the stone uphill, of trying to force your law of attraction, of being in the old industrial age paradigm. The other, everything comes to me with grace and ease, is about playing on the other side of the veil, playing with the angels, playing with your guides, playing with energy. They say with God, all things are possible. Well, God is imagination. God is energy. God is a state of creation. God is a state of beingness where it is already here. I have to work hard for wealth. How does that feel? I am already wealthy. How does that feel? So that's what I want to talk with you about today, about a way that involves more flow, less fight, more floating, less struggling. Doesn't that sound like more fun? Woohoo! Energy meets angels. Angels meets energy, which is manifestation amplified to a much higher level. All right, let's talk Neville Goddard. Breathe into this. Neville Goddard talks about two states of creation. Two states of creation. The first state is the thinking state of the rational, the objective, the materialistic, the mechanistic mind. The mind where one needs proof. The mind where one operates in the day-to-day physicality. This desk is real. These lights are real. My thoughts, not as real. Where we need to see it in order to believe it. He calls this the natural state. It's that linear, objective state of being that says the only way to get from point A to point B is to march one step at a time. This is great for driving a car. You want to take it 1 mile at a time. This is great for getting your airplane into takeoff. This is not so great for being in the creative process, because no creative idea ever in the history of mankind came from the natural state. The natural state is looking at a spreadsheet or an accounting book in order to create. It doesn't work. In fact, the natural state has a much lower level energy. A paradigm of heavy, of physicality, of almost stuckedness. How do I know it's stuckedness? Well, this expression says it all. Things are the way they are, or it is the way it is. But what if it ain't? So first is the natural state. Second, the spiritual state. A spiritual state is a realm where all things are possible unto you. All things are possible in God. Now, what if we say all things are possible in God? And we call God the creative mind. Your mind as creator. Your mind as creator. What does that mean? Mind as creator. It means if you can imagine it. Take a photograph in your mind's eye where you can see it and feel it, and it is true to your imagination. It becomes real. The spiritual state is where the game of manifestation is played. However, the majority of us, when we're doing our law of attraction work, do it in the natural state. I want that bicycle. Therefore, somebody's got to bring it to me. I've got to spend money on it. I need to go order it. Whatever it is, we put ourselves in the natural state of manifestation, which makes it very hard for the universe to plunk that bicycle right down in our laps. If instead we go to the spiritual state where we feel it, we see it, we're riding it in our mind's eye, we're having fun down the driveway, down a trail, in the Tour de France, wherever it is. That one might be a little bit of a straight, but not necessarily to the spiritual mind. And I did get myself racing in Europe. I never made it to the Tour. I didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't know any of this stuff at the time. In the spiritual state, all things are possible. What we get to do is link ourselves with that state. If your cells can divide, if your cells can create, if your mitochondria can turn sugar into energy, if your stomach can convert food, if your cells can heal themselves without having an understanding, then they are playing an energetic game outside of the natural state. They're playing a higher level game, and you can play that game too because you are a creator. Key point. To create in the spiritual realm, you don't need to know how. How is the elixir of the gods. Leave it up to them. Don't try to figure out the how. The how, the nuts and bolts, the natural state is heavy. And my shoulders get sore just thinking about it. We don't want to do the heavy lifting. Instead, if we drive and strive, we're stuck. If we remember we're magicians and alchemists and we play with energy, we can create anything. Anything, anything, anything. If you learn to play and stay in a state of higher energy, of higher frequency, of higher vibration, of a state of knowing that what you desire is already here, you will bring it about. A state of knowing that what you desire is already here. How do you do that? Well, I'm going to show you exactly how. But one thing you can do is go to your angels, go to your guides, and ask them for assistance on this. Why? Because angels are playing at a higher level of energy. Why would we do the heavy lifting down here when we have so much support waiting up there, waiting to help on any moment's notice, if all we would do is ask? I want you playing at this higher frequency, at this higher vibration, at this higher electron state. You don't have to woo-hoo like me. If you do, great. If you don't, that's great too. Whatever works for you. But remember, I'm not a woo-hoo guy. I'm an energy guy. I'm an alchemist. I'm playing at that higher vibrational state. It's why you get buzzy from these interviews. It's why what's a better way to put this? It's why you watch an Inspire Nation show and feel so good at the end. Law of attraction meets the angelic realm. Why? Well, we talk about the power of 8, and the power of 8 has been done for countless millennia. Growing up Jewish, if we wanted to go into prayer as a group, we would get a minyan. A group of 10 of us together. Or if we didn't have 10, it would be 9 people and bring out 1 Torah. Or 8 people and bring out 2 Torahs. What's a Torah? The scrolls of the Old Testament. We knew there was a power in the group. You say, well, Michael, I want to do manifestation work, but I'm by myself. You aren't. You couldn't be. You could not be by yourself no matter how you tried. I learned that they're broken on the trail in Boulder, Colorado. I couldn't have been by myself even if I wanted to. All things are possible to he or she that believes or knowest. What does that mean? An angel doesn't go, well, I'm not sure they can cross that bridge. The angel knows you can cross that bridge. I'm not sure this is possible. The angel knows that is possible. The angel exists in the spiritual realm where all things are possible. It's not just all things are done unto God. All things exist unto God. And you are God in this sense, for you are the creator. When you know something to be true, it is true. When you know you have that job, you have that job. When you know you have that million hits or views or subscribers, you have that million subscribers. When you know you have that $1 million, or you know you have that $1 million relationship, you have it. That's the level the angels are playing at all the time. So why would we choose to play down here? When you want to achieve, when you want to manifest, play at the level of the angels. Play in the spiritual world. There's no need to play in the heaviness, the I'll see it or I believe it when I see it world. Instead, play in the world of I see it because I believe it. It's much easier. And it can also be a lot faster. The spiritual realm is where things are lighter. They're easier. They can come about at a drop of a hat, whatever is best for you. Which is why at the end of this invocation prayer, I say, for your highest good and the highest good of all.
Right.
And when you're in the dark woods, you think all there is the dark woods. When you're doing,
That's right.
when you're working hard, you think the answer is to work even harder.
Exactly. And this is all culture. We're forcing ourselves to do things that, in case you haven't noticed, aren't comfortable. I talk in the book about when I speak to groups. Sometimes I'll stop in the middle of a speech. This is when people could gather before COVID. And I'll say, is everyone comfortable? And they all nod and they look at me like I'm kind of strange. And I say, no, seriously, you're sure you're comfortable? And by this point, they're starting to think I'm a little crazy. And they're like, yeah, we're perfectly comfortable. And then I ask, how many of you, if you were at home in your bedroom right now, alone, would be sitting in exactly the position you're in right now? Not a hand goes up. Why? And I say, why? Why would you be in a different position? And they can't figure it out. It's like, and these are like PhDs, CEOs. After about 5 minutes, somebody finally says, it's not really comfortable. And then everybody's like, oh, yes, it's not comfortable, which is not the problem because they're not miserable. It's fine to be uncomfortable for a while. The problem is that culture trains us to sit in chairs and be uncomfortable and at the same time not tune into the signals from our bodies that are telling us this isn't really that comfortable. And that mistake is what pulls us away from our truth. And I said integrity is when everything works as one. The moment your culture says you're comfortable and your body says, no, I'm not, you are split in two. And it's the splitting that causes the pain, that causes the symptoms, that causes the depression, the breakdown in career and relationships and all the rest of it.
What was your body telling you?
It wasn't just my body. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, my son Adam is my second child. I'd had one child and then I was almost 6 months along with Adam. And then he was diagnosed because I was in a high-rise fire and they legitimized all these tests that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Is this the high-rise fire that you were ushered or saved by somebody who wasn't there?
Yeah. So what happened was there was a grocery store in the basement of the building I lived in, and we lived on the 10th floor. And something in the refrigerator system blew up in the grocery store, and everything in the store burned, and all the smoke went up the staircases. So they always tell you take the stairs in a fire. So I tried to take the staircase down, but it was acting as a chimney, and you couldn't get low enough for oxygen. And I had 10 floors to go down carrying my 18-month-old, and I was pregnant. And I didn't make it. I got down near the bottom and then I passed out and like trying to breathe was like needles going into your lungs, no sense of oxygen at all. And I started trying to push my daughter into the path of people. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face and people were running down. So I thought if I push her forward, maybe they'll kick her and realize that she's there. And I was doing this with the last few seconds of my consciousness when I felt someone pick me up and drag me to my feet and then like frog march me down one more flight of stairs and then push me out into the outside air. And it was like, and there were pictures. There's a picture of me in the Boston Globe coming out with my daughter. I had her under my coat to try to keep her face covered. And my whole face is black with soot. And, the thing about the picture, and they also had it on the news, is there's no one behind me. And I know for a fact that at that moment, I was not on my own feet. Somebody was holding me up, physically holding me, and didn't show up on film. That upended my worldview, I'll tell you that.
I'm in tears. I'm like, and so every decision.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, then, so we had a bunch of medical tests. And the last thing I expected, I was 25 years old. My risk of Down syndrome was like very, very low. And when the test came back, And they told me I had just a smidgen of time left to have a legal abortion. And I am not against anybody who's had one out there. I will hold your hand while I'm completely okay with you. But I was bonded. And that thing with the body, heart, soul came in. The body, because I've been fighting to keep this pregnancy going. The mind, not the mind, the heart, because I was already in love with the baby. And my soul, because there was stuff going on that I did not understand, and I could only call it spiritual. And I was really curious to find out what was happening to me. And it seemed connected to this little guy. And it's still connected to this little guy. And so I chose not to terminate it. And I was told I was throwing my life away. And I was. And it turned out the life I threw away sucked.
Thank you.
And the life I got back was great. Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Most of the time, he's just a little guy with Down syndrome. And then sometimes the back of the wardrobe isn't there. And he is the intelligence of the universe speaking. And it will completely, I can't even say a lot of the stuff that I've seen him do because no one would believe me. He's so magical. And I don't think it's because he has Down syndrome. I just think some people are like that. Soul teacher is what shows up when you're in the dark wood and you're confused and you don't know what you're doing wrong. Somebody shows up, something shows up that catches your attention and forces you to, it makes you unable to keep living the way you've been living. And you start to fight it because you want to live the way you've been living. But life or the intelligence of the universe or whatever, it does not want us to wander in the dark wood of error. It wants us out. It wants us in paradise. And there's actually only one way. Put yourself in the position of the student, the child with a disability, the non-intellectual. This is what I didn't learn at Harvard or from Mormonism. Both were systems that said we have the truth and only we. And what I found was that Adam is not able to say that. He will be seen as lower in those cultures, both of them. And as I claimed him as my own and identified with him, I went lower too. And then I found that all streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility is actually power. And that's the opposite of what we learn in our cultures, but it's true for nature.
Salvation comes to the penitent man. And the penitent man bends down before God. And as Harrison Ford says this in the movie, blow darts or something go over his head.
Oh, interesting.
Because he's stayed alive by being humble.
Wow. Oh, that's powerful. And that's what happens. That's the way out of the dark wood, it turns out. You have to be very humble and you have to let life teach you. So sometimes it's a person like my son, or the Tao Te Ching was one of my greatest teachers. When I found that book, it was like electric on fire. It blew up my head. When you find someone like that who pulls your attention, and whether you like it or don't like it, you can't stay the same. That is the emergence of the teacher in your life. And the teacher always takes you to the place where Dante's teacher, Virgil, takes him. And that is the gates of hell.
Putting the pieces of the puzzle together, you're on an operating table being sewn back together, this isn't even metaphorical. This is quite literal and very profound, because I talk about, from a Jungian sense, the dream world, the waking world, the dream world. Your body is literally representing what had happening to you.
Yeah.
As you are being made whole, you come into the light.
Yeah, something did happen that was the pivot point of my life. And this is actually why I made the no lying policy. I was on my back on the surgical table, anesthetized. And I woke up and started looking at the ceiling, which was odd because I was still anesthetized. And then I sat up, which was stranger still because my body was still lying down. They were still operating on me. I watched them operating on me for a minute. I was kind of confused. I wasn't feeling any pain. And so I just lay back down. And then above my head, directly above my face, a ball of light appeared about the size of a golf ball. That was really small at first, but unbelievably brilliant. And the color, like white light, is the combination of all light colors. and rainbows are the breakdown. Well, imagine seeing a rainbow with like hundreds of colors you've never actually seen before. It was riveting. It was like everything else fell away, and it started to grow, and it would sort of go into things instead of bouncing off them. And then it touched my body, and the euphoria, the sweetness, the incredible love of and warmth of this light were just unspeakable. And I fell apart inside. I just was like, oh, I'm back. It wasn't real. And the light was laughing with me and saying, yeah, you're back. It was never real. Suffering was never real, not the way you thought it was. And it said many things to me, but the biggest part of what it said is, you're about to go through something really hard, but I'm going to be here. I've always been here. I've never left you. Never forget that. And I woke up just sobbing with joy. And one little addendum, I asked what I'd been given, because I was like, I want more of that. The anesthesiologist came in to talk to me, and I kept asking him questions. Does it cause hallucinations? What are the side effects? And he finally said, just tell me what happened. Because while we were working on you, we noticed that you were crying, because I was so happy. And he said, everybody was frightened that the anesthesia had worn off and you could feel what we were doing. He said, please, I went to increase the medication, and a voice said to me, this is the doctor telling me this, don't worry, don't increase the medication. She's crying because she's happy. And he said, I just listened. I don't know what, that never happened to me before. And so I told him a little bit, and he kissed me on the head and walked away. And it was just like, it was one of the most beautiful interchanges I've ever had.
You're going to go through something incredibly challenging, but you're not alone. You'll be fine. And don't forget, in a sense, where you come from, who you are. Yeah.
Don't forget what you are. You're not just this little machine. What we are is indescribably, it would just break you into a billion shards of light if you knew what you really are. And I thought I could never be sad again after that. And then I started, then my entire life blew up. And I had reasons to be sad after that, even though I knew that light was there with me. But it gave me enough. It gave me enough courage. It gave me enough ballast. It gave me enough hope and a place to go. And that left me thinking that we're always given a choice. We're always given balance. So you're given an incredible, it's not so much that you're not given more than you can cope with. You're given something you cannot cope with, but at the same time, you're offered something that is greater and more beautiful and more happy than anything you've ever been before. So it's like a metamorphosis. The caterpillar never makes it out of the cocoon alive, but the butterfly does. Yeah. Right? So we are actually broken down. When a caterpillar goes into a cocoon, it melts into a liquid. And then that liquid is reconstructed into something with wings. So as you're saying this, I'm thinking of all the people out there who are in the melting down process. Mm-hmm. And who hope to get back to being the caterpillar they were, that you only go one way through the inferno. And when you come out, you're not in the dark wood anymore. You're on your way to paradise, and you're a different being. And there are different beings around you. And yeah, Michael, in Dante, they have wings, and I think you're right. You are going to lose the identity you've got. You have to give up the life you have planned. There's another life waiting for you. And as you're torn to shreds going through the process of the inferno, you're being prepared for rebuilding on the other side. And Dante calls that purgatory, which literally means to cleanse oneself. And so to me, it meant that once I'd gone inside and done all my work psychologically, mm-hmm. I saw, for example, I didn't believe in Mormonism anymore. I also didn't believe in, mechanistic rationalism. I had to go to something different. Things were happening to me that didn't fit into any of those categories. So I got that clear inside. Now, unlike me at 17, 18, where I split myself and just served two different systems, I had to start finding what was true inside myself through the inferno, looking at my heart's deepest beliefs. And I had to start acting that way on the outside. Like, I could no longer stay a Mormon, even though leaving the church is the one sin worse than murder. I had to, because I didn't believe it. And I had to walk my talk.
You
So
even
purgatory
committed
is
an
that.
even greater sin than that.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, there is no sin in Mormonism worse than leaving the church. But they had defined 3 enemies of the church in the latter days: intellectuals, feminists, and gay people. And so, yeah, when I started looking at what is true, it turned out I was an intellectual, a feminist, and a gay person.
And
3
you wrote
strikes.
a book. What's your first, if we go back in time, what's your first memory of angels?
Well, this is a latent memory. I remembered this later on in my life, but when I was newly incarnated here, I remember smelling the smells of the hospital and looking around and seeing these beautiful colors all around me. And so on reflection, I realized that was my very first introduction to the 12 archangels. They were already there the moment that I entered into this life. And they say, to be honest, that they're here for all of us all the time.
So were they there continuously or regularly during your early years?
So angels were, and some ascended masters definitely were in my life, in my early years. You know, I saw all kinds of beings around me, and I had a very strong connection with nature at that time. And I would get myself into trouble because I would see things and know things about people that probably I wasn't supposed to see or know, so I would get in trouble for that. And then that shut down when I was about 11 or 12 and opened up in my first Saturn return in a cell biology lab.
Wow. So let's go to that. Before 11, you said that you are a intuitive right brainer. And so what did that mean?
Yeah. So as an intuitive right brainer, I was extremely sensitive to the feelings of others, and I would know things, especially if people were hurting or if they, needed some help, needed some love. That's what I would pick up on, and I was really connected with my pets, and again with nature. But when I was like 11, because I was in 6th grade, I decided I wanted to be a scientist. I was going to be a biologist, and I was going to save the planet. So that was my, that's what happened. And so then I felt this kind of door shut in my brain. Mm-hmm. And I continued to have some empathy with human beings and with animals, but I pretty much had to shift over to the left brain and kind of, dive into facts and chemistry and math and those kind of things.
I've heard it said that you need to ask for angels. They are there to help if you would simply ask. Do we need to ask, or are they always helping us?
They're always helping us, but what helps is that when we ask, we're taking that ego that sits over in the left part of our brain and we're bringing it home to our center, to our heart. And that helps the ego to surrender that it has to be kind of God omnipotent all on its own. And it teaches the ego that it's okay to ask for help. Because that's where we can get so shut down, is believing it's not okay to ask for help. It means we're not independent enough, or we're not intelligent enough, or we're just not. Maybe we were brought up with religious or cultural beliefs that say to ask for help is shows we're weak, or we're just unworthy. We're just supposed to be unworthy, and we're not allowed to ask for help. So that's where asking, it helps that ego to recognize, hey, I've got angels. They've got my back. They're working with me. They're helping me. Look at how things are changing. Because angels, as you know, Michael, they make us feel like we've got a family that really understands us and gets us, so that little child that lives within us doesn't have to go back into that old abandonment place, that old sad place.
What is the violet fire exercise, and how can people try this at home?
So violet fire is just the energy and our crown chakras. And our chakras are batteries of spiritual energy that Spirit gives us to help transform whatever it is that we need to transform. So if you can understand, you have a mental body that you think with, right? You have an emotional body. Well, you also have a spiritual body. Of course, you have your physical body, but your spiritual body is home to your chakras, are all of these beautiful energies that are the colors of God's rainbow. And those energies, which we can activate just with intention and visualize the color, work profoundly to help us shift in vibration and move out of an old story into greater happiness. And violet fire, which is that beautiful purple color in the crown, it's the energy that Mother, Father, God has given us to transform fearful thought back into love. Because we create our reality with our thoughts and our beliefs, and some of those beliefs are stuck way deep down in our subconscious. We don't realize that that's our material we're using to create our experiences. So that beautiful purple color that we can just play with, we just imagine it, and we can swim in it. So we can swim in a violet fire ocean and ask for those beliefs, even if they're ancestral or stuck deep down in our DNA that are limiting us now. We can just release them in that beautiful violet purple energy. And what that does is it brings in forgiveness. You know, human beings love to feel guilty. We just do. We love to hold on to guilt and shame and suffering and all those heavy duty things. So when we bring in that energy of forgiveness, and we bring it in from source, then we let it go. That's how we need to let stuff go, is we need energy to help us, or love to help us. Love is the greatest healing power that there is. And we get to work with that power of love through all of these beautiful colors. And that's what the 12 archangels teach us to do. And so we can transform anything that is limiting us just by imagining a beautiful color.
But one of the things that comes up when I hear forgiveness, and I'm thinking self-forgiveness, is one of the other human characteristics or traits, which is unworthiness. And I'm wondering if you can dive in there, what we can learn, because we all seem to struggle with this unworthiness, not worthy. I guess it's the same thing.
Right, not good enough.
Bingo.
All the not enoughs. Yeah, the angels call them the not enoughs. So it comes from the ego, or the human personality, being convinced that it is not a divine child of Mother, Father, God, that it's, kind of like scum left on the ground to be walked on and trampled on and disrespected. So when we just imagine ourselves, we just visualize ourselves, this is one of my favorite ones, under a violet fire rain shower. And now this is not in Lessons from the 12 Archangels, but just play with this. And you just say, okay, I'm ready to shake off all of my unworthiness. I'm ready to send it back to my Creator, the universe, Mother, Father, God, Divine Source. It all means the same thing. And make room in my vessel for love. So they say, just see yourself under that gentle violet rain and shake like a happy wet dog. And you just shake off, right? You just shake off all that not good enough. And you just, and you get the little child in your heart there with you. And it really works. You're going to feel, because feeling is your confirmation. You're going to feel, wow. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm really worthy to experience all the success I'm asking for. That's where our angels can help us, and we're just doing these really simple visualizations. If you can't visualize, that's fine. It just means your creative hemisphere of your brain is a little rusty. So just use intention. Still works.
And by intention, meaning just put it out there in thought, even if you can't see it in the mind's eye.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple others. These are really fun. The fuchsia miner's lamp.
So the fuchsia miner's lamp is to help us to open up our third eye. So the third eye, where the cave of Brahma, it's where that intuitive center is in our brain, so that we can see, hear, and know and feel the truth of a highest vibration.
Mm-hmm.
But the angels love to work with the color fuchsia. A lot of people may think, hey, but the third eye, isn't that indigo? Well, it does have indigo in it, but the angels want to help us so that we see into the realm of heaven, so that we can see intuitively. We can see the truth, and we can see our helpers, and we can really feel and know the love. And that's why they love to work with fuchsia, which is also Kuan Yin's color, to help, again, bring in that feminine. And it just helps to activate that intuitive, creative, spiritual hemisphere of the brain. So by just visualizing that fuchsia lamp, it's going to get that third eye to open to see into a very beautiful realm.
A magic blackboard for eliminating limiting beliefs. Say that 10 times.
So the magic blackboard is really easy, and it's this is a tool that the angels have had me work with individuals since they first drafted me into service. And so you just imagine that you are writing down something that, let's say that you say, I'll never get out of this lack, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll never get out of this financial hardship. And you write that down on the blackboard, and then what will show up on the other side of the equal sign is where that comes from. So you might see, in this example, and you can use this blackboard for lots of things, but I'm hearing that this is an exercise that will help your audience. So I'll never get out of this financial hardship. And then on the equal sign, you'll see, wow, this came from my ancestry. They're going to show you, when your listeners do this exercise, they're going to reveal to them, they'll see where that limiting belief actually originated from. Okay, so you'll see it on the other side. So we're going to say ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
So then you just take a violet purple eraser and you just erase it. You just erase the whole thing. And then you write down on the blackboard, prosperity equals, and you want it to say birthright, or
Powerful.
Everything that is manifesting is happening for me right now. Something positive, but they say birthright. It's here for you. And if you don't see that, if you still see a limiting belief, you just keep erasing it until it says on that blackboard, okay, prosperity, financial abundance equals my norm.
Yeah, that works for everybody else, but not for me. That's not going to work for me.
So put that belief in violet fire. You want to put that belief in violet fire that says it's not going to work for me. So you erase that. Or you can, this is just another fun one. You just go swim in a violet fire lake. So a beautiful lake, beautiful purple color, and you just take yourself and you ask all of my selves inside of me, all my past life selves, right? Or my wounded little children, or my wounded adults that believe it's just never going to change for me. Go swim in that lake and just keep releasing. I release this. I give it back to my Creator. And I open to allowing myself to experience something far greater. That yes, I can receive abundance, and I am receiving abundance. And so, of course, Michael, results are what we need, right? We human beings, we need to have those tangible results. But you're going to have those results. Sometimes we have a lot of layers of unworthiness or lack beliefs. I have Celtic DNA, and oh my goodness, it was lots of it in there. But these energies, because it's divine love, again, the greatest healing power, it knows, especially that color purple, that violet fire knows how to go deep down into wherever those belief systems are stuck in our subconscious and just erase them, transform them, and replace them with love.
We've had a lot of great guests on the show lately because it's something we're almost all challenged with, is emotional blocks. And so I wonder if you can talk about riding a red horse.
Okay, so the color red is the energy that is in our root chakra, the spiritual battery that we sit on, that's at the base of the spine. Mm-hmm. And this is where we bring in and anchor the Divine Mother's energy. Now, the Divine Mother and the Divine Father are never separate. So you can think of this as the Divine Feminine. But it is that red, ruby, pink, all of those kind of colors and those flavors that help us to receive. That feminine is what helps us to receive. And in order to receive, we have to feel our feelings. And what blocks up that, our feelings is our rage, our anger, our resentments, all those feelings that say, I'm not allowed to feel you. Okay. Mm-hmm. So a very powerful image is just to put yourself with the little child that lives within you on a scarlet red horse, because it's going to activate courage, but it's going to activate all of those intense emotions and help you to release them and give them back to Mother, Father, God, so that you can fill up with feelings of peace, of safety, of security, of feeling included, of feeling wanted, of feeling on purpose. So that's the power of riding that red horse just in your imagination. It's going to help you to release any stuck emotions. And that's so important for our physical health, because according to the angels, it's stuck emotion, buried emotion, sometimes from past lives or that we've even inherited, that causes disease, especially the illness of cancer.
Automatic writing is perhaps the most cutting-edge tool for connecting with the other side, which is why we've written the definitive guide called the Automatic Writing Experience. To find out more, simply visit automaticwriting.com. It's my favorite way to help you to shine bright. Woohoo!